morning, everyone. Welcome to tonight's Lung Cancer Living Room. Hello, everyone in the room. Thank you for coming. Everyone online, thank you for signing in via YouTube and or Facebook Live. We're so happy to have you, as we are happy to have Dr. Larry Heifetz. Came down all the way from Truckee, California, and the Gene Upshaw Cancer Center. So we're going to be talking a little bit tonight about disparities in lung cancer, particularly around one topic that has to do with tumor boards and why tumor boards are so important to the patient, and some of the exciting things via technology today that Dr. Heifetz is doing with UC Davis and some other centers. So we're very, very excited to have him tonight. I want to start with, I see faces around the room that attended the gala this past Saturday. Thank you so much for coming. Anybody online who was able to attend, thank you for coming. Jen and her amazing team, Team Awesome, did a fantastic job. It was a beautiful night, and nobody could hear me. Okay. And we couldn't have been more blessed to have you all in the room. Dr. Heifetz was also there, so he came for the gala, drove back to Truckee, and then came back to do this living room. And he's headed out early in the morning because he has yet another commitment. So that's dedication right there.
And we're all still standing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We're going to start business as usual. We're going to do the around the room as new people come in. Andre is in the back. You're going to, make sure they get seated. Please remember, Dr. Heifetz has a presentation tonight that he's going to show, but it's still questions, Q&A throughout. So do not hesitate to shout out, ask your questions. We will, I know you will, in the middle of the presentation. That's what this is about. It's meant to be interactive, and so that we can engage in conversations. If you have cell phones, please remember to vibrate or silence them. And then don't forget to pick up a microphone before you talk. It's not so much for people in the room, but it's for people online so that they can hear what it is you are talking about. So with that, we will start with the around the room. And I was going to wait until we got to her.
Let's do the Ina thing.
So for those of you who don't know, or who may be watching online, or who weren't able to attend, at our gala, we have a martini raffle every year, and we sell 250, right?
Yep.
180.
180.
But who's
100? Well, up to 250, but 180 martinis. The raffle ticket's $100 each. We don't recommend you have 3 martinis, but you can certainly buy more than one raffle ticket.
For your buddies.
And so you have a 1 in less than 200 chance of winning. I think it was a $38,000 diamond necklace that was donated to us by a local jewelry company here, Jeffries. And Ina, who left literally seconds before the announcement, was the winner of the necklace. So we want to present her with it tonight.
But somehow, Jennifer, I think we need to pass that around the room so people can really to encourage.
To be able to see her necklace.
Oh, that's right. Okay, everybody give Ina a kiss before you go home tonight and see what could have been yours had you been to the gala. Jen, Ina can't see it.
I can't see it, but I'll see it.
She'll see it tomorrow when she gets up.
Grab a mic, Ina. There should be a mic over there. Oh, there you go.
Thank you. I just cannot.
Face this camera.
Okay.
He's going to get a close-up of it.
I am blown away. I just can't believe it. The only thing that I've ever won, I've won goldfish.
Goldfish, yeah.
And they've all died. And I won a canary. And that
Goldfish
died
and
also.
canary. Okay.
This is unbelievable.
Okay.
Actually, though, I have to be honest, this is Steve's. He won it. I'm assuming he's going to give it to me. He couldn't make it
I was
tonight.
going to ask,
Her name was on the tag, so
Oh,
I
he
think
put
it's
my
all
name.
you.
Oh, okay. All right. Then it's-
okay.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's a beautiful rectangle diamond.
Yeah,
you
I
have to
saw
see it up close,
pictures.
and then it's surrounded by smaller diamonds. It's gorgeous. We're all jealous.
Unbelievable.
Ina, you can keep that mic and go ahead and start the around the room. How's that?
Yeah, but they didn't.
No, we'll come
We'll
back.
come back to them.
Okay. Wow. I'm Ina Bauman, and it was my first gala.
Yeah.
Right, because we have a conflict, we have an anniversary of kids, and so we babysit for grandkids on that weekend every year, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
We're not going to do it, I know. And I just love this organization and everything about it. I just think you're amazing. And I came tonight because Larry Heifetz from Truckee, we spend a lot of time in Truckee. And I really wanted to be here tonight specifically, even though I had a conflict. But I didn't even know about this.
Right.
I'm rambling. Anyway, I'm just delighted to be here. I had an accidental finding 3.5 years ago of a fairly large tumor in my lung that was actually not all cancer. It was kind of a boiled egg. And so the outside wasn't. So we never had, it was interesting because we could never get positive biopsy results. But the yolk, the inside, contained cancer. So I'm minus about 1.5 lobes, but have recovered well. And just very, very, very grateful to be here, even without the diamond necklace. I really am.
We can't pay everybody.
Right. And this is my friend Jill, who lives here in San Carlos.
Oh, awesome.
And right here up the hill. And she's been wonderful support through the whole thing as well. Yeah.
That's great.
So I think we should go back.
No, you can go this
Go
way.
ahead.
We'll catch him on the way back.
Hi, I'm Sally, and first of all, Tina and Rick couldn't be here because of a family commitment, and then Ron called me that he couldn't make it because they were actually taking his father home from the hospital.
Oh, okay.
So he had hoped to be here, but he said to say hello to all of you, as did Tina and Rick.
Okay.
So now that I'm through
Everybody
delivering that
RSVPs through
message,
Sally. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
what?
Everybody RSVPs through you.
Right.
Anyway, I was at high risk, and I entered the International Early Lung Cancer Assessment Program, and I had some little nodules, and after 5 years, one grew. It was found very early because I was in this study, and I had my right lower lobe removed. It was non-small cell stage 1 adenocarcinoma, and I've been cancer-free for about 9.5 years, and hopefully intend to remain that way, although I'm still watched. But before I go on, now I have a sales product here. Uh-oh. Now that I'm through the gossip about other people. On the Tuesday after Thanksgiving is Giving Tuesday, and Amici's in Redwood Shores is going to give the foundation 25% of all food and drink that is either eaten there or takeout, and no delivery, just so you know. And I spoke to the head man yesterday. If you aren't able to take in one of these flyers, you can either show it. I put it on Facebook, and it's public, so hopefully a lot of people will see it. You can show it on your iPhone, or just be sure to tell them that you're there and that you want the donation to go to the foundation for that night. So looking forward to having lots of people go there so we can make some money.
Thank you, Sally.
Before we move on, Karen, I always like to take an opportunity when Sally tells her story to talk a little bit about the importance of screening. I know by the time most people find us here and or tune in here, they're well past that and already into their diagnosis and their treatment. But what I like to remind everybody is that it creates an opportunity for a conversation with people that you know who may qualify for screening. Screening, as I've said here ad nauseum, is for folks with a smoking history, a 30-pack year, which means 1 pack a day for 30 years, and or that equates to 2 packs a day for 15, is over the age of 55. And has not quit smoking within less than the last 10 or 15 years. So if you know anybody who fits that, please, please, please talk to them about screening. Sally is, case in point, the benefits of screening and moving beyond the lung cancer treatment phase And I just think it's given that, roughly 3% of people who do qualify currently actually get screened, we really need to get the word out to those that that could really, really benefit from this. So sorry for the timeout,
But our goal is to get everybody screened because, it's complete nonsense that, only smokers are getting screened because we know at least 30% of lung cancer patients never smoked or quit smoking well, actually 80% either quit smoking or never smoked at all. So it's not right, and we're working on changing that. But in the meantime, this is what we've got, and it took us 20 years to get it. So hopefully we can get screening for everybody, and maybe combine it with heart disease as well, because on a CT scan you can actually see plaque in the veins of the heart. And we can see COPD and we can see emphysema. So we can see a lot of lung disease, and maybe we can get more testing if we add those things into the mix. So.
obviously we're very, well, all of us, but particularly you, are very passionate about what screening might look like in the future, so that we can broaden those who do qualify for screening and ultimately make it that anyone can qualify. But right now, to your point, this is what we've got. So I highly encourage the conversation.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Hi, Karen.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
My name is Karen Gornberg. I am here from Gainesville, Florida. And I am...
Did you vote?
Before anything else, Bobby Thompson, if you're watching, I'm saying hello to you in Gainesville.
Me too.
So there, you can tell people I said hello. Anyway, I met Bonnie in 2009, this foundation, and I have been a loyal supporter. She is my leader. I've been following her and this foundation ever since. My lung cancer was found incidentally at the time of a mammogram, because I'm a good citizen. I went for my mammogram, and I thought, what the heck? My husband's the doctor. I'll get a chest film. I haven't had one in a while. And it took forever for the radiologist to come back. And when she did, I was sure it was something breast, and it wasn't. There's a spot on your lung. And I felt great. I didn't have a sign. I didn't have a symptom. I didn't have a cough, nothing. And I went from feeling great, no signs, no symptoms, to more scans, more tests, a biopsy, surgery where they took out my right upper lobe, my right lower lobe, my right mid lobe, and there was more disease in the lower lobe and across on the left and the mediastinum. And so from feeling wonderful, I ended up with a diagnosis of stage 4 lung cancer. This was back in early 2007, where there really wasn't much of anything available besides the basic Taxol, carboplatin, infusions. And very fortunately for me, I had a young oncologist who was smart enough to know about genetic testing way back then. After 4 successful rounds of chemo, the 5th one failed, and that would have been the end for me. But he said, "Great news, Karen, you're positive for the exon 21 mutation." I had no idea what he was talking about, but I believe it's almost just 2 years before Tarceva had been approved for treatment of people, particularly with an exon 19 or 21 mutation. And I started that in June of 2007, and I have been on that drug ever since. So I'm
Great story.
sort of a unique
Long time.
yeah. And I have had 2 issues since then. I had a small apical lesion, upper left, in 2015, and we did CyberKnife, and that seemed to take care of it. And just recently, I had another lesion, mid-lobe, in my lingula. I didn't even know what a lingula was, but apparently it's between the upper and lower left lungs. I call it my lungette. My lungette had a little bit of a lesion, and I have the most wonderful doctors, Lucio Gordon, Alice Grow in Gainesville, Florida. And she said, "I see you need a little welding touch-up." So she did her little welding touch-up. They did CyberKnife on my lingula, and I'm hoping for the same wonderful result I had with the apical lesion. And I'll go away, but in a minute, just to the point of saying lung cancer patients want to live. That's what we want. We want to live. Just before this apical lesion, this lingular lesion was biopsied and addressed, I had an opportunity to go to Machu Picchu with my kids and climb that mountain you see in the background. And I discussed it with my people, and they said, go. Put off the biopsy, wait 2 more weeks, go to Machu Picchu. And I did. So I encourage every one of you that are sitting here, remember, not only are we patients, but we're also people, and we're people who want to take joy from life. We have the sorrows too, but we want to take the joy we can. So that's my story. Yes.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. I just want to say that I don't know if anybody online is chatting, but Karen signs in every month online from Florida and watches. So there's a lot of people online who have probably seen Karen's name, and now if they didn't already know her, they get to put a face and a story to the name. So thank you for.
You're also going to see her on
our website,
FaceTime, and our website, and all kinds of things, because she was in our gala video this year. And she was our gala video this year. She was the star, and so she'll be all over the internet very shortly here. So you can say I met her.
And in Times Square,
and in Times Square,
for Lung Cancer Awareness Month. I mean, I think to Dr. Heifetz's point, you know, it's an amazing story, and it is proof positive that you can live with lung cancer, right? So, thank you.
And chronically manage it. You know, just a few short years ago, doing what your physicians did with you on the radiation side wasn't happening. Mm-hmm. For a stage 4 patient, it clearly wasn't happening. And now, you know, stage 4 lung patients are candidates for surgery on occasion, and CyberKnife and SBRT and all kinds of good.
But I think Karen's story is going to relate back very well to Dr. Heifetz's presentation.
Yes.
Particularly, you know, cancer centers or private practice, you know, oncologists who don't have the benefit of some of the technologies, and also don't have the benefit of going to the ASCOs and the World Lung Conferences and learning all of these things, right? So, yeah, so thanks. Terry Ann.
I'm Terry Ann. I'm a 2-time lung cancer survivor. I was first diagnosed 13 years ago, early stage both times. So screening is important. Mine was found incidental as well. I had my lower right lobe removed, woke up from surgery, found out I had lung cancer. A year later, I had a portion of my upper right lobe removed. That was thankfully benign. And then through follow-up, 2 years ago, we found a new episode because I'm checked every year. Now I'm checked every 3 months. The only surgical option for me 2 years ago was to remove the rest of my right lung because of where the tumor was located. But thankfully, I was a candidate for stereotactic radiation. So I had stereotactic radiation 2 years ago, and I'm stable. I'm checked every 3 months. I have a half a dozen ground glass lesions throughout my lungs, so I'll be checked the rest of my life. So in addition to my diagnosis, my mother lost her life to lung cancer. My uncle passed away about 6 weeks ago from lung cancer. 2 of my mother's siblings, one is fighting lung cancer and one is lung cancer. Well, they're both lung cancer survivors, but my uncle, one uncle is still in treatment, and my aunt has had surgery. So there are 5 of us in my immediate family with lung cancer. So I'm very passionate about learning as much as I can. I found the Adario Foundation through Nicole this summer, and I love the work that you're doing, and I want to be right by your side to help make a difference.
Great. You are. And, you know, we want to look at your genomic profiling, too, because I, too, lost my mother, her brother, her sister, and my grandfather to lung cancer. So, you know, we're already doing a clinical trial on, it's called Inherit. And we already know that some people with a T790 and an EGFR mutation qualify for that particular project. But there's so much we don't know about the outliers and, you know, the people that do progress and the people that don't, and all of those things. So have you put your data in our registry?
No, it's on my list of things to do when I'm flying out tomorrow. I was here for the
Okay.
gala, and I was
Okay,
paid,
so as soon as you get home, okay.
One thing that's important, though, I know that the treatments that I had were not available to my mother. My mother passed 7 years ago.
Right.
So the advances that have been made so far are really wonderful, because she didn't have the opportunities that I had. And they wouldn't, she was stage 4, and stereotactic radiation wasn't available to her.
Exactly,
And, surgery, no surgeons really wanted to go near what she had. So it's important, the progress that's being made.
Absolutely. More therapies have been approved for lung cancer in the last 3 years than the last 5 decades. So it's a very, very
Tarceva was her
hopeful time.
last line of defense.
And different types of radiation and all different kinds of things. So even brain, we know how to bypass the hippocampus area, which is memory, when we're doing radiation. So lots of really good things going on. So it's good for us to be really positive. Positive times.
How did you like the gala? This was your first gala.
The gala was fabulous.
Good.
Oh, and I'm a professional event planner, so I can tell you that gala was top-notch. It was fabulous. Thank you. It was great. Good job, first Jeff. Good job, Jeff. Although I really wanted the necklace, I bought it.
Right, exactly.
Next year.
Yeah, it'll get bigger next year.
Hi, I'm Lori. I am very sad I missed the gala, so I will be there next year. I was diagnosed in January of 2018 with stage 4 metastatic lung cancer to my brain, bones, liver, kidney, everywhere, all my vertebrae. And the interesting thing about that was in September of 2013, I hiked Mount Whitney in a day. And 2 weeks later, I couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. So for 4.5 years, I went complaining to my doctor. The only thing they did was an X-ray, and an X-ray did not show. The lung tumor did not show up in an X-ray. By 2015, after several appointments, I insisted on more tests. They did COPD testing and said, "You're fine." And they told me I had asthma. For 4 years, they told me I had asthma. They gave me inhalers every time, and I didn't have asthma. I never had been asthmatic. So in January, I go into seizures, and I was in Florida on vacation, my whole left side shut down. They thought I was having a stroke. 4 hospitals and brain surgery later, I had stage 4 lung cancer. So lucky for me, even the minute I found out I had stage 4 lung cancer and it metastasized to the brain, I knew I would get a lot of oncologist appointments and see what everybody had to say. One guy I knew had a cancer institute in Long Beach, and he did my first biopsy, and when he knew I was going to have brain surgery, we got the surgeon to have my tumor couriered to him. So the hospital kept some for testing, and then he got the rest. And what was interesting is both, I have a neurosurgeon hospital, state-of-the-art, doing one test and a lab doing another, and both tests were night and day different. He did it as a live tissue sample, and what he does is he tests against your tumor against every drug to see what drug kills your tumor. So it was less about what's your genetic mutation, but let's find the drug. And by knowing what drug worked for me, he was able to know what mutation I had. It turned out I had ALK, so he found that alectinib worked, but what was interesting, he also found out that metformin worked. And he has a handful of cancer patients, not all, and probably not more than 20%, where metformin works in the lab, so he's been treating people with that. So I feel lucky that I'm hoping it will help alectinib last longer. When I went back to the hospital, they told me I had an unknown mutation, and they wanted to start me on carboplatin and Keytruda immediately the next day. And when I called the other doctor with the lab to say there's confusion here, he said, "Did they give you a pathology report?" They're wrong. They didn't read it. They gave me a pathology report that their hospital did. They didn't read it. They took a consultation with a stage 4 cancer patient and misdiagnosed my cancer and my treatment plan. And that treatment plan could have killed me because the other doctor proved in the lab that none of those drugs they were going to give me would have worked. So it's early detection. The other thing, I would be an advocate for early detection because I went 4.5 years undetected begging for answers. So anything we can do for early detection would be great. In January, I had a 6-centimeter lung tumor that did not show up in an x-ray. So we need to get people who, x-rays are not good enough. I needed a CT scan. 4 years ago, I might be in a different situation than I am today if I had a CT scan. So we really need to advocate for something more than x-rays.
And we really need to continue doing this living room, which is live streamed to 145 countries around the world. And patient education is huge. We're really proponents about second opinions. Even if you're seeing, quote, the most famous, amazing oncologist in the world, a second set of eyes is always a good thing.
Yeah, and Lori, I think your story is one that needs to be heard. This is not the first time we've heard. In fact, quite frequently we hear about people being misdiagnosed for several years. 4 years is a really long time. I don't know that I've heard a 4-year misdiagnosis, and I've been doing this for over a decade. Thank you for sharing your story, because this, to your point, will go out not only tonight, but, you know.
And especially in younger people, because physicians just aren't looking for lung cancer.
They're not looking for lung cancer, and whether you're a smoker or even, they even say, there's so many non-smokers getting lung cancer.
Exactly.
Or light smokers, or if you smoked for 8 years and quit, or so forth. It's a different type of lung cancer. It doesn't really have much to do with smoking.
Right.
But we need to be able to detect it in people.
Right.
And x-rays don't always give the answer.
And
didn't for me.
And often physicians will say, well, I don't want you to have unnecessary radiation. A low-dose CT scan is really not a big deal.
It's less than flying from here to New York.
Right. It's like a day in Denver.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
My name's Dave, and tomorrow is my 20-month anniversary
Yay!
of being diagnosed. And it was only a couple days later that I wound up in my first living room here. And Karen happened to be in town, and I had just started Tarceva and found out that Karen had been on this drug for 10 years.
Yeah.
And of course, all I could do after losing my mom and my aunt and my stepfather to lung cancer, all I could do was think the end was not far away.
Sure.
Until there was Karen and Tina, who was 6 years in. And so Hope behind me here was everything that this,
Remember what you said? I was sitting over there.
I can't remember yesterday.
You said,
Karen, will you grab a mic? I'm sorry.
I don't have a mic.
Oh, here it comes.
Okay, it is indelibly imprinted in my brain because I was sitting over there with Jamie. We had come, and I had told my story, went all the way around, got to him. He was beet red. I was really impressed with your coloring.
Tarceva rash.
Tarceva
It's back
red.
again. Right.
And I had told mine 2007, I've been on Tarceva, and he said, I want to be like her.
She is my hero.
I said that you're the new kid on the block, because I had been the newest for about 6 months until.
Right.
I think the best part of Dave's story, though, is the fact that one of our employees found him in the dog park, walking
They
his
found
dog.
Barb, I think. Yeah.
And literally drug him in here, so.
Yes, it was Barb who
Right.
had the dog, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, mine was stage 4 and EGFR positive, metastases in the brain and one lymph node. That lymph node, I had the SRS on the brain immediately. There were 6 lesions up there, and they treated those, and everything seemed to be pretty good there. I still get MRIs every 3 months. The lymph node started acting up a few months back, and they did stereotactic body radiation on that. I had 2 bronchoscopies, one to do a tissue biopsy that showed nothing. Just before that, I had a blood biopsy, which showed nothing, from the guys at Gardent. Thank you for putting me at their table last year. And then so they went back in and placed markers in a second bronchoscopy a couple months later. And these markers were to do this stereotactic body radiation, which they then zapped was over 5 days, they zapped the lymph node. And that whole process of those 2 bronchoscopies and the 5 days of radiation, I would say definitely threw me for a loop for, kind of zapped my energy for several months. And just about 2 weeks ago, things started to come back. And the energy was good, the strength was good, and I'm feeling much better. So.
Didn't stop you from coming here.
Or the gala.
Or the walk.
You look very sassy at the game.
Or the walk. Okay?
Or the walk,
Or the walk.
exactly.
Which was fabulous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
I'm just going to say real quickly, I am his wife, but the only thing I'm Barb. The only thing I wanted to say was that when we talk about all these drugs that are new and everything else, the stereotactic body radiation therapy, the SBRT that he had to his hilar lymph node, he was told by 2 different doctors it's not radiatable because of where it is. They call this the no-fly zone. It's too dangerous. It's too close to the heart. We just don't do that. And then our radiation oncologist said, yeah, we can do that.
Absolutely.
And so when you hear, no, you can't do that, I was on, I was so impressed the first time I ever came and heard Ron talk. I thought, what is this guy, like a doctor? And now it's like I'm reading the lung cancer journal. I'm like, okay, I don't understand everything, but it says this is okay now. You can do this.
Right.
So, make yourself smart about your lung cancer, and
Right.
that's my story.
Right. Right.
Thanks, Barb.
Hi, my name's Wayne. This is my wife, Rebecca, and daughter, Chloe. Almost a year ago, Rebecca was diagnosed with stage 3B adenocarcinoma. We found out in August that her mutation was KRAS G12V. We didn't know what it was earlier. I guess it was technically misdiagnosed, but we had a hard time getting the tissue back from Gara Foundation. We went through chemoradiation in February and then started the protocol for the Pacific trial, which put her on durvalumab from March to July.
Nivolumab?
Durvalumab.
Durvalumab.
Yeah. Okay.
She didn't respond, so the disease progressed. And so in August, she went on carboplatin, Alimta, and Avastin. Last week was her 5th cycle, during which we found some brain metastases, which were irradiated through the CyberKnife. Her scans about 3 weeks ago turned out very positive. Everything has remained stable. The brain stuff, no new lesions, so we're very thankful for that. I know that right before her 5th cycle, the chemo really took a toll, and we proactively got a blood transfusion so that she could, one, feel really much better, and it also allowed her to, go on to cycle 5, because if her blood count had gone a little much worse, they would have had to stop it. And we wanted to keep the momentum going. And so we're still going to wait for cycle 5 and cycle 6, and we're going to figure out what the backup plan is and hope that this regimen could last for a long time.
And I'm sure more testing is going to be in your future as well. So things change. They do. So be hopeful.
Thanks, Wayne.
Stay hopeful.
Hi, my name is Marie. I found out about the organization through Ina, and this is my 2nd time here. I catch every cold, always, and it just happened that my cough changed, and thank goodness I work in an organization where there are doctors, and someone had said, go in and have your cough checked, not just see a doctor, but tell them you have a slow expiratory phase and wheezing and crackling. And so they thought asthma. So I got an inhaler, and that didn't work, and it got worse. And he said, I want you to go in and say you want a chest x-ray. And I'm like, they're just going to give me codeine for a cold. But thankfully I went to urgent care, and they got an x-ray and found something, and it's been tests, and I've just finished my 2nd cycle of chemotherapy. I'm going to have my third this Thursday with carboplatin, alitma, and Keytruda. Unfortunately, I don't have any good mutations. So PDL1 low, ALK low, EGFR lower negative, and which one am I missing?
Ross one.
Yeah, Ross, lower negative. So I don't have any good mutations. So I'm feeling great. Chemo's been a piece of cake. I haven't had any side effects, but I did find out that after 2 cycles, nothing has changed. So I don't know if it's progressed, but it hasn't.
Have you had genomic profiling?
Pardon me?
Have you had genomic
That's what she's
profiling?
saying. Have you had comprehensive genomic profiling, not just the baseline looking for those?
For
those that you
every
mentioned?
No, I don't
known
think
marker
so.
for lung cancer, you need that.
Yeah, I have a PDX being done at the company where I work, but I don't know if they got good enough tissue samples because they were through a fine needle aspirate instead of getting like a lung, a bronchial sample with a good chunk of tissue. So we'll see what happens on that. But I don't think anything with the PDX I don't think they got a good enough sample for that.
But you could do blood. You could do blood with Guardant to see. It's important that you get this test.
I think one of the where she's kind of going with this is it's great. I mean, at minimum to have a baseline genomic profiling, looking for what we know have approved targeted drugs to. But there are a lot of drugs showing a ton of promise right now in lung cancer, whether it's NTRK or RED or MET or some of these other ones. So it would be important to know whether or not one of those was potentially relevant to you. If you were to need it, at some point, upon progression with the triplet that you're on right now. So we can talk about it after. But if you can't get another biopsy right now, the blood test would be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Ben's not talking. Don't even try.
No, he's not a talker. He's a listener.
Oh, it can go back here, Marie. Thank you. Dave will take it.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Ran Long, last name Joe. Today, I think it's almost exactly 4 years since me and my wife first time came here, attending this living room. I still remember the first time when I came here, 2014. It was a completely different feeling, and it was very sad when I was just diagnosed the lung cancer, squamous cell, stage 3B, and the tumor was pretty big, and it's right in the middle of the left lung. So seems like it's not a very curable kind of a situation. But anyway, I went to Stanford, and the doctors there come up with a plan. I went through 3 cycles of traditional chemotherapy, and the good news comes afterwards that the tumor can shrink by 40%. After that, I was accepted for the surgery. So I went through the left lung pneumonectomy. And after that, there's no more chemo, no radiation needed, other than every 6 months to do a CT scan. After 2 years, I started to do 1 year CT scan every 1 year. So since then, I've been so far ED, no evidence of a disease so far. I feel very lucky, and I always wanted to come to here every month. I feel very encouraged by all the stories from other people here, and also all the very precious advice from the doctors and the staff members here. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Fred Palmer, and I was diagnosed with non-small cell lung cancer in October of 2013, and I'm currently on immunotherapy.
Great.
Thanks, Fred.
I know. But if you get him one-on-one, he has a lot to say. Yeah. Just the mic scares him, I think.
Hi, my name is Karen, and I actually, in January, it'll be 11 years. I had an accidental finding 10 years ago, and I was a stage 1B, and we didn't have genomic testing, and I had surgery and had the upper left lobe removed, and then I had 3 cycles of carboplatin, 4 cycles of carboplatin, and I get tested every year, but I'm here as much for just seeing all the hope and inspiration in this room and just so encouraged by what an amazing organization this is. And the gala was just the best on Saturday night. So whatever I can do for this foundation, I will do it.
Awesome. Thanks, you.
Karen.
Hi, I'm Evangeline, and today is my 20th month anniversary since I was diagnosed with lung cancer. At first, my oncology suspected that I only have stage 1 or 0 because they thought it's only contained on my upper left lobe. Actually, the diagnosis was by accident too. I used to be an accounts payable manager, and I changed career. I wanted to take care of people, so I took up certified nurse assisting. I applied at Lucille Packard Children's Hospital because I like to take care of kids. And I had my orientation, my badge, and before I started work, they told me to have a chest x-ray to make sure that I have no TB. So TB was ruled out, and the radiologist saw a mass on my upper left lobe, which is 3.6 centimeters. And so he contacted my primary care physician, and he said, we have to do this fast because they don't know what kind of mass I have. So after the CT needle biopsy, they found out I have non-small cell lung cancer, NSCLC, non-small cell lung cancer adenocarcinoma. They referred me to Stanford, and I had a PET scan from neck to the thigh. They thought it's only stage 1, so I was scheduled for a surgery, lobectomy. But day before surgery, April 27th, they called me, and because of my faith in God and pray, I always ask, people always tell me, we're praying for you. But I always tell them not to pray only for me, but for my medical team. So day before the surgery, I think the Holy Spirit guided my oncologist, and they told me I need to have an MRI of my head. So that night, the radiologist called me and said, your surgery is canceled, and wait for my oncologist's call what my next treatment plan would be because they saw 2 spots on my head. Following day, which is supposed to be my surgery day, April 27th, my oncologist called me and said, I'm sorry to tell you, you're now categorized stage 4 because they saw a tumor on my right brain and the left bone of my skull. So we met May 1st for my treatment plan. I had cyberknife radiation on my right brain on May 27th. And after that, May 17th, and after that, May 22nd, I started officially taking my oral chemo, which is Tarceva, every day. It's a daily pill, 150 milligrams. And after 11 weeks of taking Tarceva, the tumor on my upper left lobe has decreased by 1.2 centimeters. And as of August 10th, it has been dormant. And then the tumor on my brain, according to my cyberknife radiologist, oncologist, it's almost gone. They could hardly see it anymore on my last MRI last August. However, the tumor on my left bone of the skull has increased by 5 millimeters. And so they're going to monitor this, and I will have my next MRI scheduled in next month. But I'm hopeful because of this foundation that I started coming. This is my third time to come here. It gave me really hope and courage that there is hope for me to live long, because just hearing people who are like my stage 4, which I thought a year ago I'm terminal, and I'm always depressed because I thought I'm not worthy of anything anymore. And I have no support. I have no immediate family around. So, but when I found out about this foundation, it gave me more hope, courage, and confidence to get out and voice out my situation. And I'm willing to be an advocate and help and volunteer for this foundation, because it really, what did I tell you? My conviction in life now is we have to always have a purpose in life and think of how we could make a difference to other people's life.
What she didn't tell you is that she has qualified for an all expenses paid trip to Lourdes.
Oh, wow.
So
cool.
she's going to be going pretty soon, right?
Oh no, it happened already last May.
Oh, you did it already. Okay,
Yeah.
well maybe who knows, right? That's awesome.
Thanks, Kimberly. Are we good? Does anybody online want to say hello or share their story? Oh, jeez, Joanne, I'm sorry. See, I know.
And then we
that
forgot
was me.
you. We never forget you. You're just misplaced in your seating.
Anyway, my name is Joanne. This is my husband, Ron. We two were at the gala. It was wonderful. We also participated with the Dr. Pasta booth and team and the 5K. That was also wonderful. And my story is, I was diagnosed in September of 2016 with stage 4 adenocarcinoma, EGFR exon 19. And that I have always thought it was just horrible that I was misdiagnosed for a whole year, and then I hear Lori talk about 4 years,
Right.
and it blows me away. I was misdiagnosed with a very severe cough as postnasal drip, and then they sent me to the allergist when nothing stopped the postnasal drip. The allergist found nothing, sent me to ear, nose, and throat, where they decided it was acid reflux. So after, 4 months or something on whatever that over-the-counter pill thing that we take for acid reflux, I said, I think there's something serious going on. Finally, I got a chest x-ray from my primary care physician, and there it was, stage 4. It was a 5-centimeter tumor in the middle lobe of my right lung, metastasized to the right adrenal gland and to bone. And bone they described as all up and down. And I had a pain in my neck and shoulder, which they sent me to physical therapy for. But after a year, finally, I was properly diagnosed. And because it was the EGFR exon 19, I was immediately put on Tarceva. I was on Tarceva for 2 years, very successfully. Then I am part of a research study at Natera for blood biopsy. And it was discovered in August that my tumor DNA was rising. So Dr. Blakely, UCSF, Dave has him too, ordered a Guardant test, which I had through him in the 2 years prior. The Guardant test did show small but beginning T790. So I was immediately put on Tagrisso, which I've been on now for 3 months. And at the about 2 months mark, I had a CT scan, and it showed that everything was still in remission. Plus, the tumor, which had under the Tarceva gone down to 2-point-something centimeters, had even shrunk a little more with the Tagrisso in the last 3 months. And so hope is wonderful. This organization is wonderful. We come here every month to see everybody, and it's just great. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne.
And I'll make it short. I'm Ron, and I follow in the wake of Joanne.
Just happy birthdays all over for Bonnie.
Oh. Thank you, everybody.
And a lot of highs to Karen.
This is what I do on my birthday. Ask them what they do on their birthday. Tell them I want to see them here.
So thank you all for sharing your stories. Before I ask Dr. Heifetz to give us a little bit of his story and why lung cancer matters to him, I just want to point out, I got a little emotional, Evangeline, when you were talking. And I think part of it was I was thinking back, and I remember when she was sick in that scary spot and feeling alone. And it just kind of brought back to me why we started this living room to begin with, right? To provide a place of hope where patients could come together and learn from one another, from the expert speakers that we would bring in, and to give them that sense of hope and belonging. And I remember when we did it, you saying something to me, and you said, because it was a lot to get just the foundation, let alone the living room and everything we've done since up and running, that if you helped even just one person, it was all worth it. Clearly we've helped thousands of people, but your story and your emotion behind it just kind of brought me back to that place. So thank you very much for sharing that with us and with everybody around the room. Thank you. So with that, I am going to turn things over to Dr. Larry Heifetz, who is one of my most favorite humans on the planet, let alone one of my most favorite physicians on the planet. And he's been here before. He's moderated a panel of several other people. He was at the gala. Sometimes we see him when we happen to be up in the Tahoe, Truckee area. He's a family friend and a dear, dear human. So instead of what I've historically done is, read bios and CVs, and it's very sort of.
Oh, please don't do that.
I'm not. Right. I'm absolutely not. So what I've decided to start doing, and I think it's working out really well, is just have you introduce yourself. Because who better to introduce you than you?
Who are you?
Tell us a little bit about why lung cancer is important to you.
I have I want to show you guys where I live.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it's a tough spot.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot.
No, we could. Here we go. That's where I live. I live up in Truckee.
Right.
In 2003, I finished about 25 years at Cedars-Sinai. Cedars-Sinai is 1,000 beds, 2,000 doctors, and 50 oncologists. We had academic status at UCLA. It was exactly 5 miles down the street. Truckee and I needed to recharge my batteries. I really did. Oncology has a cost to the doctor, okay? So I decided to be a ski bum and get good electronic records and play the piano in some blues bars and really, kind of like change it up a little bit. Truckee is in an area where there's about 50,000 people in the whole catchment area, but the little town's only got 15,000 people in it. And they have a 25-bed hospital and 0 oncology. So 100% of the patients in that area had to either drive down the west side of the Sierras to Sacramento or San Francisco or Palo Alto, or the east side to Reno or Carson City, okay? I got recruited by the hospital to, come on, Larry, let's do this. And I said, you're crazy. We can't have a cancer program up here. It's impossible. Well, so we said, okay, what's important here? Well, ASCO, American Society of Clinical Oncology, has a mission. One of its many missions is to reduce cancer health disparities. And you can't experience a greater health disparity than going from Cedars-Sinai to 0 than what I experienced. So how are we going to go through that? Okay, what are the guiding principles that we're going to ask for? The first one, if we're going to do this, we're going to provide care to everybody in our community. It's immoral for us not to treat everybody. So I don't care what kind of insurance you've got, and we told this to the hospital administrators. I don't care if it's Medicare, Medi-Cal, no-Cal, I don't care if you're illegal. Everybody who's living there is going to get treated. That's number one. Number two, we had to reach out, we had to investigate what are those fears in the rural environment that are enhanced over the standard fears of getting a diagnosis like cancer in an urban environment. We had to reach out to thought leaders, and we had, when you got gray hair and some battle scars like me, you know that there's some really smart lung cancer guys at UC Davis. You also know there's some really smart brain tumor guys at UC San Francisco, and some serious lymphoma guys at Stanford. But if you go to Stanford, how many guys have ever been to Stanford? You try to ask those guys, are they not the best at everything? Right. Well, okay. But those of us who've kind of been in the street, okay, we know where those jewels are, and we reached out to them, okay? Then we said, if we're out there, we're going to really use technology to lessen the sense of rural isolation. We had to keep local businesses and community leaders engaged. They actually had to raise money to get behind this. So engaging the lay community, not the doctors or the hospital, but actually normal people and some hard-ass business people, okay, like realtors, horrible people, right? You know? But they got behind this and started fundraising to help make it happen. Fear is the primary biologic emotion. Your ministers may tell you it's love. It's fear, okay? Just look at the Republican Party, okay? All right? So, yeah, right, exactly. So you've got, these fears are universal for everybody on the planet. That's you're frightened of death, pain, and disability. But these fears are amplified in the rural setting. That's, are you going to get am I standing in front? I'm sorry. Disorganized care? Are you going to become a burden on your family and your caregivers? Do you have any family or caregivers up there? Okay? But the most important one is, are you getting yesterday's therapy? That's what you're really scared of. Okay. All of us on the doctor side of this are in a perfect storm. We've got a rapidly increasing population that's over 65, and that's the vast majority of all of our patients. We have an exponential knowledge-based growth with unpronounceable MIBs, NIBs, MABs, and ZUMABs. I mean, all the brand names you were bandying about, they all end in one of those four. And for not just lung cancer, it's breast cancer, colon, it's everything. And it works in one cancer, doesn't work in another cancer. And at some stage, you use it, and another stage, you don't use it. And these guidelines and indications change every 3 months. We have a legacy medical education culture. We assume that doctors are the smartest kids in college. They're not. The Silicon Valley guys are the smartest, and the Wall Streeters are. The doctors are supposed to stay up and read journals, and then how do they know what's going on? They listen to drug reps. The whole system is not designed smart for how to stay up with this fabulous knowledge-based growth. So we're actually fighting this with yesterday's thinking. There are 8 NCI-designated comprehensive cancer centers in California. There are none in Nevada. We're about an hour from Nevada. So when community people said, and business people said, Larry, why don't you just affiliate with, you know, one of the big hospitals in Reno? I said, no way. If we're going to do this, we're going to go for the brass ring. We're going to affiliate with one of these 3, Stanford, Davis, or UC San Francisco, okay? Because we're going to do this right and try to make a difference.
Larry, can I ask a question really quick? What does it mean to be an NCI designated cancer center?
An the NCI has different terms. It has an NCI cancer center, and it has an NCI designated cancer center. And you got to really be on the inside to know what that really means. An NCI comprehensive cancer center is a big hospital that takes care of a lot of patients and does research. An NCI designated comprehensive cancer center is all that stuff, but it also has demonstrable outreach to the external community. It actually does it. Stanford wasn't designated a year ago. Stanford got the comprehensive designation just this last year. Cedars doesn't have it. And let me tell you, they're pissed off, okay?
Yeah.
All right?
What does NCI stand for, Larry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, the NCI is the National Cancer Institute. Okay. They certify cancer programs. Okay, so we wound up starting with UC Davis, their UC Davis Comprehensive Cancer Network, with a hospital. It doesn't work. So we're up in Truckee, then there's Marysville, there's Merced and Bakersfield. Those are the 4 satellites around UC Davis. And we're the smallest of all of them, up there in the mountains. Okay? Okay, and this is a little break. You know who this guy is?
He's French.
He's actually Italian, okay, but he wrote it in French. His name is Vilfredo Pareto, okay? In 1896, Pareto studied land ownership in Italy, okay? And he found out that 80% of the land is owned by 20% of the people. That's called the Pareto principle. It's the 80-20 rule of human behavior. Everybody knows that. That means that 80% of the work done is by 20% of the group. I'm telling you, it happens
all the time.
All the time. Okay? 80% of the patients admitted to your hospital are admitted by 20% of the doctors on your medical staff. And greater than 80% of the Little League coaches' headaches come from less than 20% of the parents. It's also biologic. This is what we found out. There are 20 major cancer sites, 20. But 4 of them, or 20%, account for 80% of all the patients. And that's lung, colorectal, prostate, and breast cancer. So if you're going to start a program in the middle of nowhere where there's no legacy culture at all, nobody's got a vested interest in anything, pay attention to those 4 diseases. Get really good at those 4 diseases. You're going to build your infrastructure. You're going to have your pathologists and your surgeons have already figured it all out so that when you get a brain tumor, when you have a lymphoma, when you have a sarcoma, when you have something that's not one of those big 4, you've already got enough put together to take care of it. What is a tumor board? So how do you get good at this stuff? Well, after the Second World War, a couple things happened. We started doing staging because we had rudimentary computers. We started talking to each other. We got out of our ivory towers and thinking that we're smarter than somebody else. We got international. And there was no such thing as an oncologist. So there was no smartass in the room who said he knew what the right answer was, okay? We created a multidisciplinary conference, and that multidisciplinary conference meant you've got a surgeon, you have a primary care doc, you've got a radiologist, not necessarily a radiation therapist, okay? But you would also get a radiation therapist, and you have a pathologist. Now you get a medical oncologist, and you get all kinds of other docs in that room. It's a safe room, which means there's a term in medical school, it's called pimping, okay? When some senior resident tries to make you feel like you don't know squat, okay, by showing off how smart he or she is. That's not allowed in a tumor board. The opposite is the case. If you start acting like that, you're shamed. The question is, what do I do now? That's what we're trying to answer. And you can only answer that question if you're totally safe, which means no patients are allowed in the room. No patients' brothers who are doctors, who are chairman of the board of the hospital, are allowed in the room, okay? Because you've got to be able to think and say, oh man, I blew it. I should have done that. Well, you probably did. Let's do it. How do we fix that? You got to be able to say that with people who you feel safe with. It has been such an important human experience that now it's done in community hospitals. There's a general tumor board. It could be once every 2 weeks, once a month. But in academic hospitals, they're disease-specific tumor boards. It's so important, it's so valuable, this multidisciplinary experience, that the American College of Surgeons Commission on Cancer insists that unless you have tumor boards and document it and really pay attention to that, you're not going to get certified as by their Commission on Cancer, and you want to be certified. So UC Davis did the unthinkable. They actually moved their tumor boards around. That means they had to tell some surgeon, no, you can't have it at 7:30 because you've had it there for the last 10 years. It's going to be at noon. So every Monday, there's colorectal tumor board, virtual tumor board. Every Tuesday, it's urology. Every Wednesday, it's lung. And every Thursday, it's breast cancer. Okay? It's our new doctor's dining room. We don't go to the dining room to hand out business cards like a whole bunch of your doctors do, okay? What we do is we go to this dining room, even if we don't have a case to present, and participate with our new partners, the academic leaders. Oh, come on.
Is that the video?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
No.
Hold on.
We'll get it.
No. Somebody
We ran it before.
If
I don't
not,
think-
you can grab it on our Vimeo, on our.
Oh man.
Rocky can grab it. Well, because I. have a
Okay,
couple
well,
questions
listen, I'm
anyway.
going to just describe it for you.
Tumor board video.
A tumor board is...
on our website, in our library.
It's not running.
But he could probably grab it from our library.
No, it's okay. Let me just describe it, okay?
I love
So
the
we've got a
video.
room.
I know, the video.
We've got a room. Camera over here, 2 screens. The screen on one side is the Hollywood Squares, where you've got all the different cancer centers, all the different doctors on that screen. The screen on the other side is the common platform, like a Skype, all right? So you're looking at your PowerPoint, or you're looking at an MRI or a CAT scan on that side. You're sitting in this room, you're participating actively. That is a very, very important experience. That has changed the relationship, a town and gown relationship that exists between the academic know-it-alls and the dumb guys who've gone out into private practice who used to be know-it-alls until the day they left the academic center. That town and gown thing changed and balanced out so that there's profound respect and understanding for and partnering between both entities. That's too bad. Okay, so
Can I grab that microphone?
We're going to find it.
Oh.
We're going to find it.
Yeah, we'll try to find the video. It lives in our video education library. So one of the things I want to say is, what? Oh, the space bar.
well, I have another slide. I'm changing the subject, so.
Is that when we were filming this video, you and Tony were up in Truckee with Dr. Heifetz, and I was down in Davis with Dr. Gandera and his team. We had cameras on sort of each end, which again, you guys, it is on our video education in our library. You can find it, virtual tumor boards in there. But it was really, really amazing to see how in real time Dr. Heifetz could present a patient case, and the crew in Davis, where I was, could then give feedback and complete with scans, and they had everything up on the.
Not
oh, here it is.
everybody is going to live in a big city where they're is highly specialized care. But you can bring state-of-the-art care, clinical trials therapy to patients regardless of where they are.
We're a very small hospital out here in Lake Tahoe. We're really tiny. And we're about an hour from a mid-sized city, Reno, and about 2 hours from the state capital in Sacramento. The virtual tumor board allows us to meet on a regularly scheduled basis with thought leaders at an academic center. It allows community facilities, community hospitals, to present a case at an academic place within a week of making a diagnosis.
We can look at the CT scans together, we can look at the pathology together, and reach a joint decision about the best treatment for that patient. So the advantage for our community affiliate sites is this puts them in contact directly with specialists every day of the week.
The benefit to the physician to participating in a virtual tumor board is the sense of security that he or she is doing the right thing and as close to the cutting edge as possible.
In general, we do tell our patients, I'm going to present your case to the tumor board. Patients like that because then they say, oh, you get 20 opinions for the price of one. All the different specialists get to weigh in on the problem.
These tumor boards have allowed me to feel better about what I do. And if I feel better about what I'm doing, the patients are going to get better care.
And who's the benefit? Who benefits from this? The patient.
Really thanking Bonnie a lot for putting that together. I'm going to get back to this one, the black screen. Here we go.
Not
now
everybody
it's running.
is going to live.
Son of a bitch. Okay, don't need to see it a second time. Who knows? All right, so let me go on for something. So now you've got the idea there's this network of hospitals. We started something from nothing, and we're getting good at these big 4 diseases. All right? So in 1974, Dr. Larry Einhorn left MD Anderson Hospital. I started my fellowship in 1977 at MD Anderson Hospital. And I heard about this guy, Larry Einhorn, who was a really smart guy, and he started this new drug called cisplatin for testicular cancer. Okay? And in 1974, the probability of living 18 months was 38%. That means if you had advanced testicular cancer in 1974, you were going to die. Okay? Now, he started this trial in 74. He published his first abstract in 76, and he published the paper in 78. And by 79, the probability of living 18 months was 80%. That's great. That means it took 4 years to move that survival curve. But if you were living within 200 miles of University of Indiana, where Larry Einhorn was, doing a virtual tumor board like we were, you'd be enrolled and you'd live. All those people, the amount of time that it takes to get buy-in on the knowledge change, even though it's not as dramatic as that 4 years was then, still exists. And you don't care if you're a patient, if it's 3 months difference. You want to have that as soon as the thought leaders say it's the right thing to do. So we noticed that we had patients coming from an hour away from us, way off on the mountains, from really tiny hospitals, tiny 6-bed hospitals, hospitals that are busy going broke. They can't keep a doctor there. And they would have to come to see us, like, when you get chemotherapy, you have to come back on day 8 or 9 for a CBC to be sure that your white count's okay. Or you have to come back for a routine visit and get a CAT scan or a physical exam if you've had breast cancer, and every 3 months for a long time. And what if it's snowing? And why do you need to make that drive? We got real comfortable in front of cameras. So we said, look, instead of having telemedicine be from a major center to everywhere, why don't we create a little node where we are, and then have more personalized follow-up for our patients way out in the periphery. So we created telemedicine follow-up office visits. We used nurse practitioners and physician assistants. We integrated diagnostic imaging so we could sit at our desks and see the CAT scan done at the other hospital. It's also good for that other hospital to stay in business by doing a CAT scan instead of having the CAT scan done at our place. We just wanted to compare them. We were not able to integrate the laboratory testing. We still have to use scanning because of all kinds of hospital nonsense. This is what I see in a telemedicine visit. I see my nurse practitioner on the right side of that screen, my patient, okay? This is all pixelated so that for HIPAA, so you really can't see who they are. It's not really a patient, that's my secretary, but anyway. So a computer between them, and they're looking at me, and I'm down here in the lower right corner. Okay? They're looking at me, they're seeing me as big as I'm seeing them like that, okay? Really looking at me. But what I do, as soon as I say hello, we take that thumbnail, we take that picture of them and bring it down to a thumbnail and move it right up to the top of the computer. Why would we do that? You ever do a Skype with somebody and you're looking at the person's eyes, but you're looking down at the computer screen, and they're looking at your eyes and they're looking down at the computer screen. So when you're talking to somebody on a video conference, you're not looking at them. If you're going to be a doctor talking to patients, you better be looking at them in the eye. It doesn't matter if you can't see their eyes coming back, as long as they think they're seeing your eyes, you've bridged a major gulf. The technology, with all the people on the spectrum in Silicon Valley not getting the value of serious interpersonal communication just through your eyes. Little tiny trick, right? So you move yourself up to the top of that, you move them up to the top of the screen so I can look at my patient when we're having a telemedicine visit. Plus, I've got all this real estate now to look at the CAT scan, to look at the flow sheet, the electronic medical record, and it makes sense. So, here we are, 4 days a week. We have this solid pipeline of knowledge, state-of-the-art knowledge from Sacramento, from UC Davis, to Truckee. A few years ago, we opened up our first telemedicine clinic in Portola. 6 months later, it was in South Lake Tahoe. 6 months later, it was in Quincy. And 6 months after that, it was in Loyalton. We call that a synaptic knowledge network. A synaptic knowledge network. So just think about your internet signal, okay? And you know that you take your computer and you walk outside and your signal goes away. Or you walk upstairs and your signal dies, right? Our assumption is that knowledge does the same thing over distance. Medical knowledge does the same thing over distance. And we believe this addressed that decreases that degradation of medical knowledge through the virtual tumor boards and our synaptic knowledge network so that the disparities of cancer care are significantly diminished in this system. Can we prove it? I'm not sure. So here we have the UC Davis Cancer Care Network. What if they did the same thing? Or what if this happened at the 69 other NCI cancer centers around the United States? Pretty cool idea, right? In order to take care of a patient properly out in the country where they don't have a lot of services, we have to provide these services for them. So we created a comprehensive service plan that is completely free to all patients. The hospital administrator said, come on, we can bill for this. No, we're not going to bill for it. Completely free. Its primary support comes from the hospital foundation. It is closely integrated with all of our clinical programs. Every new patient takes the NCCN distress scale. Anybody with a score over 5, it's a thermometer of how anxious you are. And anything, it goes from 0 to 10. Anything over 4, automatically, You're called by our team, and 100% of our treatment patients are seen by a psychotherapist. 100%. The national average is 6. And these are the treatment modalities that are available, all supported by the community. All these modalities, those elements that everyone here kind of wants a little bit of, but you don't know which one, it's all there, okay? Some of them are, and the other part is that you don't need a doctor to order it. Everybody is authorized. Everybody. The receptionist. Everybody is authorized to say, hey, you know, Mrs. Jones, why don't you sign up for a massage? It might make you feel good, you know, and schedule it.
I've seen the room for the massage.
It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. So we have all these people in the group who are participating, who are not the usual, you know, white coat types, okay, but really add a lot. So that brings, that creates that patient experience, which is very, very important, because otherwise, how are you going to have something work in the middle of nowhere? What are the results? What's in it for UC Davis? We actually have increased their clinical trial numbers. The Cancer Care Network has added 8% last year. It accounts for 8% of the patients enrolled. I mean, that's unheard of for us to be really doing that. And the patients stay with us. They don't have to drive down there to get the experimental drug. We've got the clinical trial going. They have become a preferred site. If I'm presenting a lung cancer case to the guys at Davis, a new case, what, I'm going to send it to UC San Francisco? No way. I'm going to send it to the guys who already know the case, right? So they're getting, the patients can go wherever they want, but they tend to get the big sarcoma cases, the pancreatic cancer cases, the really nasty operations that we have no business doing in a small town. And sometimes you have no business doing it 5 miles from here. Okay? We also provide measurable community outreach that helps the NCI, helps Davis maintain its comprehensive designation. And you don't get any more outreach than Truckee. Now, Tahoe Forest, what's in it for us? From nothing, we've got a whole bunch of certifications that we've really worked hard to get. We've gone from 100% out migration from our primary service area to 62% in migration from outside of our primary service area. Why would anybody do that? Why would they actually choose to come to see us instead of seeing a doctor in Reno or Carson City or Auburn or something like that?
Massage.
Yeah. Well, it's part of it. It's the patient experience, right? We've grown to 3 medical oncologists and 1 radiation oncologist. I'm the 4th medical oncologist, but I'm not seeing patients anymore because I'm just the medical director. And we became a revenue center for this rural hospital. And we now can help support these essential services like labor and delivery and pediatrics and primary care that all lose money for rural hospitals. What are the take-home points? And I'm almost done, guys. Appreciate the 80-20 rule, okay? Get good at the 20% of the diagnoses. So this is a lecture really for doctors, right, this little section, but think about it. Get good at those 20% of instances that account for, of diagnoses that account for 80% of your patients. Really get that. Here's the hardest part. Get smart and stay smart at lunch. This is more than oncology now. Develop virtual, disease-specific, case-based conferences with regional thought leaders. It's the only way to keep up with the exponential knowledge-based growth. This could, just like I've got for cancers, cardiology is heart muscle, valve, rhythm, and coronary artery. You could knock heart disease out of the park with regional thinking like this, okay? The last take-home point is to insist. And it's hard for you guys as patients to think this through, but it's a headache for me, but insist that the hospitals recognize that technology should always be for doctors and patients, not hospital bean counters, okay? To be used to improve the doctor-doctor communication as well as the doctor-patient communication. Enable effective outreach to all of your remote patients and really think about and build all of your systems to address your patients' fears. This is what we did. And I said before, can we prove it? We don't know, but it sure makes good sense.
You can prove it.
Thanks for listening.
You know, one thing that you didn't mention, and David Gandera says this all the time, that when he does one of these, remote tumor boards, he invites all the fellows in, people that are in training, everybody he can get in there. When we did the one with you and Davis, he probably had 40 people.
Yeah, it's pretty crowded.
In the room. It's pretty crowded. And they're all learning. They're all learning. Everybody's on the same page. And when you've been to Tumor Board, all of that information is there. So when you come back, if and when you progress, all of those things, it's all there. And now it's addressable by multiple. It's just such an amazing thing. It's so smart.
I think
it's so smart.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'd like to point out, well, there's a couple of things. You talked about tumor boards and the human experience and doctors needing a safe place, right? Mm-hmm. Which I think is a very important point to recognize for all of us, particularly me when I get frustrated, when I get a patient who's on the phone, who's been misdiagnosed for 4 years, that doctors are human, right? They're human. And I also think it's important to remember that the hospital in and of itself is a business, right? You mentioned the hospitals in some of these rural areas that can't keep the physicians because there's no money, right? This, to me, kind of is the perfect blend of kind of developing the business, but developing it around the patient, as opposed to just for the sake of heads on beds.
Right. I mean, there's the talk is everything's patient-centered, but the walk is everything's patient-centered.
Exactly.
And
Are you
it's
doing
finding out who's walking the talk.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
How long?
I also want to fortuitously just throw something out here. For all of you guys who've got stable disease, feel good about it. Truly, stable CAT scans are good news, okay? Don't go looking for those home runs. You win baseball games with base hits, okay? So feel good with your stable disease, okay? Please.
Thanks, Larry.
All right.
So I have a question. How long from the recruitment phase with you to a fully fleshed out comprehensive cancer program, what did that look like?
It took 2 years.
2 years.
It took 2 years.
Which
we started off in a tiny little space. It actually took 1 year. 1 year of groundwork and then 1 year of some figuring it out, and then we just took a flyer, and it became very. It just blew through all of our projections, so that we knew we were. And I was starting to burn out again. I needed to recruit another doctor, and, the demand was too significant. We needed more services, so it really grew exponentially. And Davis stepping up to the plate was very, very essential.
And that's huge. That's huge.
You got to have
an academic center to step up to the plate for a community. And
yes.
But they learn. They're learning because, when you're in one zip code, most 80% of your patients come from that zip code.
That's right. Right.
So they're now able to see people from urban areas and suburbs, et cetera, and see a bigger mix.
But I also think, looking back at the 80-20 principle, when you look at academia as a whole, they really only see 20% of the patients.
That's correct.
And so they aren't getting a full representation, and speaking about lung, of what the lung cancer community looks like. They're getting the 20% that sort of come to see them, which tend to be the more educated patient with the better insurance in the local area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question, when you were doing, forgive me, I didn't write it down. I can't remember what you called it, but your map was it?
The Synaptic Knowledge Network.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some of these more rural areas, how do you get buy-in from the docs out there? I mean, are they hungry for it, or do you find?
Oh, totally. Those doctors are so appreciative of getting the help, and most of the doctors are nurse practitioners.
That's great.
Most of the people giving primary care out there in the country are no longer MDs. They're NPs and PAs, and that's how the country's going. That's how Kaiser goes right now.
Yeah.
That's how the country's going. I mean, the population's growing and the amount of docs is not. So we've had to kind of stop being arrogant and say other people can do a really good job. They actually do a better job in primary care than most, I think. I'm not going to. They're really good caregivers, these nurse practitioners.
Absolutely. 80% of all cancer patients, not just lung, but all cancer, are seen in the community.
Right.
Hospitals like Dr. Heifetz. So it's only 20% that are being treated in academia. So they're not really seeing the multitudes of difference in the patients that you could see. 50% of all clinical trials in the United States happen in 10 states. And everybody's sitting back here thinking, only 4% of patients are participating in clinical trials. What can we do to change that? Well, this is what we can do to change that. We can get the community involved in clinical trials, doing all the lab tests and the CT scans and the whatevers, so the patients don't have to get on airplanes.
That's right.
To get to MD Anderson or to get to wherever. This is common sense. It's smart common sense.
I think
the 80-20 principle.
It is true.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I want to point out also is you guys have heard, or most of you have heard about our Lung Cancer Center of Excellence, which is really taking what Dr. Heifetz is doing up in Truckee, identifying community centers, to your point, where the patients are around the country, those who are already doing it, helping those who aren't but would like to, right? What does this look like? And Leah over here in the corner, for those of you who don't know her, the one waving, she spearheads and runs that program for us. And we are, Truckee is a center of excellence as well as a member of Alchemy, our sister organization, the Odario Lung Cancer Medical Institute. But we're having our first ever COE summit the first week in December, and Dr. Heifetz will be giving this talk, which I think is really important because the purpose behind this summit is to bring these 30-plus community centers that we're currently working with from around the country and looking at, what's working in South Florida that's maybe not working in Kentucky, or in Kentucky that is working in Truckee, and how can they learn from one another so that they can really build these programs for the patient. So we're really excited about this summit.
And for the patient to be able to get amazing care, multidisciplinary care
in their backyard,
in their backyard, and we can do it.
The idea is that Alaskan bush pilots came up with some technology that's, because they needed to, that's used in 747s or whatever the latest airplane is. Well, we needed to do this, to do this out in the country. And this may have real applicability. This idea may have applicability in Oakland. Okay? I'm not kidding about being 5 miles away from...
Needed in Oakland.
Huh?
From needed.
I said needed in Oakland.
You don't have to be out where there are pretty trees or deserts. You can be right around the corner from Manhattan and be just as away from the knowledge base. So it's the cultural shift is important, and I do think that there's an honest desire to do the right thing among docs. I really do, and I believe that if the framework is put together, we can actually make a difference in actually accomplishing things.
Absolutely.
I think Lori's. I don't think you realize that this whole talk tonight was literally going to revolve around your situation. But it's a case in point. Had something like this been in place when they originally, or when you started to be symptomatic.
Well, I was begging.
Yeah. Will you grab your mic? Sorry.
You wouldn't be getting one opinion or a second opinion. You'd be getting the opinion of, 20 plus physicians.
Well, I want to put some reality
oncologists,
test in here.
Right?
It's the primary care people.
Primary care.
Who,
Absolutely.
That it's not at the oncology level. It's the primary care level.
Right.
Those were the gatekeepers who need the education at that part.
And the pulmonary people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Dave.
I have a question, or maybe just a comment. We're sitting here in the Bay Area. I think all of us feel blessed that we're surrounded by the brain power and the technology that's here to support us. The drug companies are here. These great med centers are here. And I think as we age, many people think about leaving the Bay Area to go like you did. You left LA to go out to the country for a different lifestyle change. But the second you get diagnosed with a disease like this, your life changes. And it's like, Jesus, I can't be far away from my med center. And for the first time, I'm kind of seeing things in a different lens. Not that Barb and I are thinking of going anywhere, but
Yeah.
But do it, pal.
It restricts you. All of a sudden, it changes where you might want to spend the rest of your life, however long or short.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
My husband and I have a house in Tahoe, and actually that's where we met Dr. Heifetz. It's hard for me to call you Dr. Heifetz because I always call him Larry. And now I can go to Tahoe, and I know I'm like just a couple miles away from the hospital that he does all these amazing things in. And, that's our goal. That's our goal.
But I think it's a really good point and a really good message, and I think a really good take home for those watching and those that will come back and watch that. I never thought about that there's maybe there was this big plan.
Well, it's kind of the reverse. What you're trying to do is bring the knowledge that's here out to the rural areas.
Exactly.
But why can't the patients go to the rural areas? Just like you said, you've got an incoming now into your area, but it's kind of a restriction that keeps you.
The Four Seasons and the Marriotts, it's called medical tourism, I want to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very real idea.
Right. Yeah. Near
very real
UCSF
idea.
at the main campus.
Yeah.
Try to get in a long stay apartment. I mean, the rents are ridiculous.
Well, that's
or a short stay apartment.
Yeah.
Does anybody online have anything, any comments, anything?
No.
No, we're good. I've got plenty. Oh, Karen. Kim.
To this point, it's absolutely fascinating what you can do with computers these days and looking, but there's also a move afoot, unfortunately, to shut down those community-type hospitals.
Okay.
And we really, really need to endorse and support them because then, many people just don't have the option of picking themselves up and flying to these centers where, we all know those names, the place. You all are blessed out here, out in California. I'm in Florida. But think of that whole midsection of the country. They don't have, in many places, those opportunities. So the community hospitals that can avail themselves of this kind of thing will make and will continue to make a huge impact on patient care.
Our program, Karen, you can see it up here, by 2020, our Community Centers of Excellence program will have 80% of hospitals like Dr. Heifetz in the United States.
It's really, to your point, though, Karen, will be game-changing across the board in cancer care. Well, in care in general, this telehealth and telemedicine.
Yeah, right.
It is. But it's real. The operating costs of providing health care are extreme. And as long as we have a society that doesn't value it enough and puts its money into other things, we're always going to have issues with people at the fringe, okay? There are so many parts of healthcare that are neglected. The largest piece is psychotherapy, okay? The largest piece that's completely not paid for, it's not supported. So people who really need psychological care cannot get it. There are so many elements that are not available to us to deliver to our patients on a global sense. And little hospitals can't afford to stay in business. Then the hospitals start doing stupid things. They start competing with each other. So you have them fighting instead of working together. You have that right around the corner. So they're somewhat responsible for the mess that they're in. But for the most part, we've got a payer system. We have an organization that isn't trying to maximize the benefit to the patients as much as it is maximizing the benefit to the other people involved. You know, the insurance companies and the payers, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my political side, so now I'm outed, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
What was that?
Does anybody else have any questions or comments before I move on to a couple of other things? No? All right, a huge thank you to Dr. Heifetz.
Thank you, guys.
And I will be sure at December's living room to let you all know how it went in Tennessee when he gives this to all the docs.
Yeah.
It's going to be fantastic.
We'll be filming that, so.
Yeah.
And we've got doctors from all over the U.S. that are doing the Centers of Excellence, and they'll be soon doing what you're doing. 'Cause you're gonna
right
show
after
how
LCAM.
Right.
Okay, so housekeeping. Next living room is December 18th. It is our holiday celebration and patient roundtable. So we hope to see all of you and more here, those of you that can come. It's a great night. We do some around the room with a little bit more detail, and then it turns into a holiday celebration where we'll have a big holiday spread out on the table. We'll have complete with decorations and all of that good stuff. So we hope to see you.
That we'll put up the day before this happens.
And then we'll take down in the middle of February. Yeah.
Where are they?
Some events coming up that I just want to make everyone aware of. November 17th is the Stanford Cal game. So anybody who might be going, we just have a table, an awareness table and a booth. So if you happen to be there, stop by. Will you guys be there? Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I'll have Katie let you know exactly where. That's probably some information I should have had before I spouted it.
Where's Katie?
Andre can go get Katie, and we'll circle back to it once I get to the end. But the Stanford Cal game, we will have an awareness booth. November 18th in Huntington Beach, we have a kite fly event with Orange Coast, which is one of our COEs. Registration closes on Friday, so anybody who's watching from Southern California who wants to attend that event, please get onto our website and do that. November 27th, as Sally pointed out, is Giving Tuesday, so I'm going to reiterate. Did I say the wrong date?
No, but I just want to say that, because I forgot to say it before, if you are on social media, would you please post it on social media? If you want a PDF, get in touch with me through the foundation and I'll send you a PDF. Send letters to your friends in the Bay Area, emails with the PDF on it so we can get more. Yeah, well, that's me. I'm annoying.
Yeah, and we'll have it up on our Facebook site as well, so you could grab it from there and share it. We would love to do that, but they will give 25% of the proceeds. It's between 11:30 a.m. and 9 p.m., I think. You have to show something. We have flyers here, so feel free to take one with you.
The owner told me that you can show it
on your phone.
Or if you don't have anything, just tell them. But I would recommend that you either bring a flyer or show to show it on your phone.
Yeah. And then I think Rocky was going to put up the Lung Cancer Awareness Month site. Oh, Katie's right here. So, Katie, can you talk about the Stanford Cal game?
Hi, everybody. My name's Katie Wilcox, and we...
Clap it up for Katie.
Thank you. So, yeah, we'll have a booth at the Cal-Stanford game this weekend, games at Cal in Berkeley, and... Oh, fantastic. I like talking to the people. I guess there's people here, too. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have a booth, and then also look for us. Raise of hands. Who's going to the game? So we'll look for you guys, too. Awesome.
There you go.
I'll look for you guys. So we'll have a table, and then also we'll have something up, a slide on the Jumbotron, so look for that. I don't know when they'll play it. And they're also making an announcement. So there's a group of 15 patients, Jill Costello's family, a group of 15 that are all going to be sitting together, and then they're going to ask the group to stand. So when they do that, wherever you guys are, if you want to stand with us, we'll be able to wave at each other from the seats and stuff. And cheer, yeah. So
yeah,
south entrance is what they said. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. We'll see you guys
And this
there.
is the
Go
new,
Bears.
This is the newly engaged Katie.
That's not embarrassing. So I think Rocky was he gonna put up the link to the LCAM? Is it up? Okay.
Yes.
Great. So as you guys know, November is Lung Cancer Awareness Month, and we have this great site. There's Karen.
There you are.
There's Karen. On our website, and it's looking at patients that are surviving with lung cancer. Everyone in this room, everybody online, doing what you do with your lung cancer.
It's how
a really,
they're surviving.
Yeah,
Right?
it's a really
Not
great,
giving in or giving
really
up.
great page.
They're thriving.
Yeah. It'll stay all through Lung Cancer Awareness Month, and it probably.
But then you can add your story. If your story's not up there, you can add it.
Yes.
We can add that. There's a handful of questions that Jan will ask, and a picture as well.
Which we highly encourage you to do.
It is our goal.
We want to highlight.
Is this still on the Jumbotron in New York?
Yes.
If you stand in New York, on Times Square, you can see these patients
They revolve
circling,
through.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I had a patient email me the other day and said, "Oh my God. First of all, how did you get this done? And secondly, I was overwhelmed and started to cry seeing lung cancer on in Times Square."
Yeah, and we've been able to do this for the last few years. It's great. We have a great partnership with some folks over there with the Jumbotrons, and they do play it all day long. So for those who will not make it out to New York over the next couple of weeks,
you have to look at it on the website.
There's a live stream camera that you can click on, and you can kind of watch for it. So.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Now, stand there, get a cup of coffee, get an ice cream cone, something, because I mean, you don't see it. It's kind of randomly that it happens, but wait and take a picture and send it to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now, what we'd like to do is celebrate this very special lady on her birthday. So if you will all join in singing a big happy birthday.
Oh my God! If you want to know how old I am, just check out Facebook. Okay. There are no secrets on Facebook.
Ready?
Well.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bonnie. Happy birthday to you.
Help, little help, little help.
That's about as good as one lung will do. There we go. Thank you,
There you
guys.
go, from
Thank
Barb. And I want to say a huge thank you to Michelle Zay for going out and grabbing a cake to make sure that
Thank
we.
you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Aww.
And a thank you to Sally
champagne.
for bringing the extra desserts. You guys have to hit the dessert table.
And Charlie made cookies.
And Charlie Parks made cookies. My niece, her name is Charlotte. We call her Charlie. Charlie
She's
Parks.
a Charlie. She's not a Charlotte.
She made chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
So please hit the dessert table. huge thank you to Peninsula Television for coming out once again and filming all of this for us. The Office Bar and Grill for their food. A big thank you to Kim Shapoister, who's standing over there behind the pole, who homemade the red sauce, the bolognese for the red pasta tonight for all of you. Thank you, Kim. To our sponsors, with whom we could not bring this to you each and every month. AbbVie, Amgen, AstraZeneca, Boehringer Ingelheim, Bristol Myers Squibb, Celgene, Genentech, Lilly Oncology, Medtronic, Merck, Novartis, Takeda Oncology, and the Yahoo Employee Foundation. We really appreciate your support so that we may bring this to patients all around the world. Thank you again to Dr. Heifetz and all the physicians who come and speak. And our greatest and most important thank you goes out to the patients. You are who we do this for. So we are grateful for your participation, and particularly those of you in the room, some of you who haven't been here before, those of you who have, hear me say this every month, but thank you for allowing the cameras to come in and film you while you're telling your stories so that you can share it with patients around the world.
It's huge.
It's
Huge.
Well, I have a little story for you about a young lady in Australia. We were in Australia for World Lung a couple years ago, and we were giving a presentation about the COEs, and this one girl was just crying. And I made a note to myself when we were finished to go over and give her a big hug and find out why she was crying so much. It's a true story. So she got up and she hugged me so tight and she was sobbing. I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "The day I was diagnosed with lung cancer, I felt so alone and so scared and so overwhelmed. I just went home and went to bed. Somehow," she was searching the internet, found the living room. We just happened to be having a live stream at that time. And she said when that was over, she felt like she had a home. Mm-hmm. And she didn't feel She didn't feel anymore that she was in this alone. And now she's a big advocate, and she's all over the place doing all kinds of great things. But yeah, it's so important. Birds of a feather flock together. I don't care what it is, if you're a race car driver or, whatever. And, we're a family, right? We're doing this for each other.
Sure.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And for those of you here, let's eat cake.
Let's have cake. Who said that? Somebody important said that.